When I was 23, I was cut from the CFL after I was not drafted in the NFL. I had to move back in with my parents in a small apartment in Tampa. And again, dreams dashed. You work so hard, and then somebody's saying that, well, you're just not good enough, and you gotta go home. And at 23, you think life is over. I fell into a deep depression, and I remember at that time, the only thing I wanted to do was clean the walls. I grabbed some cleaner and a rag, and for days I would clean. I cleaned everything. It was just the only thing I can control. I found that with depression, one of the most important things you could realize is that you're not alone. You're not the first to go through it. You're not gonna be the last to go through it. And oftentimes it happens. You feel like you're alone, and you feel like it's only you, and you're in your bubble. And I wish I had someone at that time who could just pull me aside and, hey, it's gonna be okay. It'll be okay. So I wish I knew that. You just gotta remember. Hold on to that fundamental quality of faith. Have faith. And on the other side of your pain is something good.
So there's one of them. There's one video there that I have, and I want to get into this other one. That's a very powerful one there, but I also want to talk about this because I think a lot of people that we know, a lot of people that I know, tend to fall more into this. But check this out.
Why people like lean on it so hard. And at one point during when Ari had to cut my high top, that's where the high top came from. I was literally at that wall where I'm like, this leg, it's not getting, like, I can't do nothing. I'm like, Ari, like, at this point, he like, dude, can you get up, change, cut your hair, come on, let's cut your hair, let's do something different. And everybody keep telling me, you need to rest, you need to rest, you need to rest. I'm like, bro, I've been going to sleep every day for 2 months. I'm like, I can't do nothing. I can't run, I can't jump, I can't push somebody, I can't do nothing. I'm like, if I walk down the stairs and mess up, I'm down. You know what I'm saying? So I was just in that, and I was like, bro, this is the first time I could acknowledge it. I was like, man, depression's real.
So you got two different perspectives there on depression. One guy there, Iman, was just like, depression is just the most fake, oh my God, you full of shit if you saying, you depressed or whatever. He just kind of was a depression denier, and The Rock was more reflective in his depression. Like, okay, this is something I'm going through that I've never experienced before. And he spoke about how, what was very telling to me in that video, he went home and he got a rag and some cleaner and he just cleaned. He just cleaned and wouldn't stop cleaning. And he said that it's because it's the only thing that he felt he could control. That was something that like, because that's what it really breaks down to me. When you feel like you have control over nothing and you are a man, and that is kind of at the core of your essence of who you are. Having control, being in control, being disciplined. It's very hard to be disciplined when you don't know what your next move is. You understand what I'm saying? So I found those two videos to be extraordinarily powerful. I learned a lot from them. I'd never seen that side of The Rock before, or Iman Shumpert. These are two of the most textbook masculine men that you can think of, by Hollywood standards, somebody that we all know, we think of, I don't know what, about all the stuff that happened with him and Tiana, if any of that's true. But just aside from that, these are two, alpha male guys by, how everybody would look at the situation. They're telling you they were both in a serious state of depression. They were going through hell within themselves, and one of them didn't even realize he was real, and it made him a believer. And the other one, felt a sense of hopelessness because of it. Very vulnerable. What do y'all say about that, man?
Yeah, it goes back to the whole notion that everybody thinks because you look strong, like you have two guys who are physically some real sized dudes. I mean, as much as Iman looks like a slim guy, he's really pretty. It's pretty a big dude, you know. Mm-hmm. And if the appearance that these guys are supposed to be strong all the time because their physical appearance is strong, sometimes the ones that have the strongest appearance on the outside be the ones that are very fragile and are holding on by a thread by the inside. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, so when you see those people, you automatically think that throughout life they just have it good. Everything is good. Like Rock's career, you don't see no kinks in his career. Iman has his career going on. It never had no kinks in it till, he started dating what's her name, and then that started to expose a lot of stuff, what was going on behind the scenes between him. But as far as him being in the media, there was no kinks on Iman. You know what I'm saying? They had a beautiful marriage relationship, everything like that. So you're seeing the perfect image and the perfect projection on screen, but behind the scenes, they were going through a lot of stuff that a lot of people probably would look down on them if they were to open up. Because when you see somebody that is portrayed as a strong or perfect kind of image, the moment they say, man, this is kind of tough out here, the average person who's going through everything like that, like, oh man, you think that's tough because you see money, they think that everything is okay with money, and it really isn't. So they're like, oh, you complaining that you doing this? Man, you should be me, who go to McDonald's and work at McDonald's, and then I got to come home and take care of my children, and I got to cook, and then so now you downplaying this person who is really at the low moment instead of having empathy and trying to figure out, like, hey, what is it that you can do to help yourself always be in good spirits or not try to hit that low bottom. Mm-hmm. Instead of that, you're comparing yourself to say, oh, you should be grateful. In your lowest moment, people sit back and say, you should be grateful because you're not this, and I think a lot of times that's where a lot of people mess up at, having that type of notion or that type of assumption that you should be strong 24/7. Mm-hmm. Nobody's strong 24/7. I'm telling you, you have your days, you have your up and down moments. It's just a lot of people don't put it out there, what they go through on a daily. And a lot of that is not really per se that they're trying to portray this image that they got it together. It's that a lot of times we have so much negativity in the world, we don't want to add negativity from our angle or our perspective, because maybe where you look at us, maybe you get the gleams of hopes of doing better. So us showing you the kink in the armor might portray or have you in another direction in the wrong direction or being depressed. Because now if you see me going through depression, now you feel like, oh man, this thing doesn't avoid everybody. It comes out. But if you see me out here doing what I'm doing, then it gives you motivation to say, you know what, I can go out there and run through it and get through it and try to get to that level that these brothers are on. So sometimes people, and the men do this a lot, they hide their kinks, they hide their the chinks in their armor, they hide their depression, they hide all of that to help and protect other people, not just for themselves. And that kind of protection also carries a stronger burden. And I'll land my plane on that.
All right. You cooking with hot grease over there. Bobby Drake, what's up?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, man. Look, the thing that people don't understand is that, and I get those perspectives as well too. I hear those and I smirk, and you're right. That's what's out there. But I also understand it because there's a lot of, I don't want to say this. The conversation about a lot of things, strength, mental health, and everything else overall, a lot of that conversation dialogue is very, very, I wouldn't say outdated, but it's very underdeveloped, right? Yeah. There's strength looks like a lot of different things, Now, the strength that we tend to uphold the most, of course, is physical strength. People that are very strong physically, they can lift huge weights, or they can, run. They're very, very talented physically. And we tend to also praise people's ability to, unfortunately, basically be in a shitstorm and from the outside not look down or not look like it's affecting them. We don't also discuss how strength looks when you are going through the midst of it and you might be broken and battered, but you're still able to take care of yourself. That's also strength. And there's lots of different nuances as well, too. And because of that, we put people in a box where they feel like I have to portray this, I have to showcase this. Otherwise, people will think I'm weak. People will think I'm soft. People won't think that I'm capable. Or not just for those purposes, for vanity, but also for the sake of being in support for others. I can't show any weakness because my children might get scared, or my significant other is depending on me, my wife is looking at me. They're depending on me. I can't look weak for their sake, and so that causes us to put on that jacket, like we're all this, not realizing we can also look busted and broken and beaten and battered down, but still be strong. The Rocky quote actually fits perfect in this conversation. Life isn't it's not about hitting and never getting hit back, but it's about getting hit and still able to keep on going. If you think about those movies, Sylvester Stallone in films, he damn near had his eyeball hanging out of his socket on a couple of occasions, but he's still hanging in there. He's woozy, he's rocking back and forth on his feet, looks unstable, but he's still able to keep on going until he finally persevered. That's also strength. And we don't celebrate that nearly enough. I resonated heavy with what The Rock had to share because and I've shared this with a few people here and there, but depression is something that I've also battled as well too. And in my case, depression got so rough for me to the point where I was dealing with suicidal thoughts, and I even was on the verge of even making an attempt before as well. And it's the same exact thing. I really felt isolated, and depression is so amazing. And I think it really speaks to the power of stress in our lives, where you can literally get bogged down so much by this thing that you can't see, you can't touch, you can't taste it, smell it. You can't use any of your senses to perceive it. And yet it can be so incredibly heavy that it damn near shuts everything out, where you really feel like it's just you on an island and nobody's anywhere even remotely close to your destination. And it's powerful, man. And by all attempts and purposes, for the most part, I've always been the same person I am. I tend to always be energetic. I was very, outspoken, very, life of the party type. And even looking back now, you would not have known that there was anything wrong with me seriously at that time, just being in my presence. I was still cracking jokes. I was still offering to be of help or helping people out or trying to be of service.
Wow.
I still went out to functions and events, whatever. But it was like I was in a soundproof room. I'm here. I can see on the outside. People can see me, but they can't see what's going on. And I still felt hurt. I still felt lonely. I still felt isolated, like I didn't have a lifeline. And, sometimes we don't recognize what that looks like. You might never get a person to say, I'm going with so-and-so. But there can be signs that are visible and present that we don't tune in on. One of the things that I dealt with, and I'm not sure how physically visible that was where I was concerned, but one of the things that really was kicking my ass when I was dealing with depression was insomnia. And, I'm out the woods, thank God. I'm able to overcome that. But even to this day, every now and then I will get a bout of insomnia that comes up and kicks my ass where, I struggle to get to sleep sometimes. But back in those days, I was not sleeping at all. I was not sleeping. I would be time for me to go to sleep. And, I'd be tired. Don't get it twisted. It's not like I had an abundance of energy. I'd be dog ass tired, but I just couldn't sleep. I couldn't get rest. And for me, those negative thoughts, the thoughts where I was fighting off suicide, those would come to me late at night when I couldn't get to sleep. And so I would just feel all the self-doubt, all the issues that I was dealing with, just whispering in my ear. And what finally prompted me was that there was one night, it was a Sunday night, it was in the summer, might possibly have been June. And I remember I was sitting on my couch and I had the TV on, but I wasn't watching nothing. It was on infomercials, whatever, all the Law and Order, reboots, whatever, that was been done. It was just infomercials, whatever. I was sitting on the couch looking at the TV, but I wasn't watching the TV. I was just zoned out. And, I was just arguing with myself saying, it just hurts. I'm tired of dealing with this. I don't want to go through this anymore. I've done enough. Just put an end to it. I fought enough. That's cool. And I went, I grabbed a bottle of wine out the fridge that someone had brought as a housewarming gift years ago. Just had it sitting there, just never did anything with it. Grabbed that, and I grabbed a bottle of aspirin, and I had it sit on the coffee table in front of me. And I'm just sitting there on the couch, just leaning back, just staring at him. And it's a whole battle back and forth between my head. Take him, don't take him, take him, don't take him, take him, don't take him. And I never got around to doing that. I was right there, but I never got around to doing that. And I had enough presence of mind to realize, you know what? I overcame it this time. I don't know if it's going to happen again. And when I tell a story, I'm so grateful every time I think about this, man, how God really reached out and really used health and wellness as a means to get me to that point. That's why I'm such a big advocate of health and wellness and taking care of yourself. I knew I was a broke college student at the time. I didn't have any money to go therapy. I couldn't afford to see anybody, But the one thing that happened was I knew I needed to do something about this. I can't get to sleep. And when I can't sleep, I'm messed up in the head. I need something to do at this time. God looked out and a Planet Fitness happened to open up literally about a block or two away, like walking distance. And so I saw that it was a 24/7, like 24/5, 5 days out of the week was open 24 hours. I saw that it was open. I'm like, you know what? Soon as I peeped that, went ahead, took my little $10, bam, signed up. And my habit was every night when I couldn't go to sleep, I would pick my ass over there and I would just go ahead and get it. I wasn't big on working out at the time, so I didn't know what I was doing. But my whole goal was I just need to get myself exhausted so when I get home, I knock the fuck out. And I did that, and slowly but surely that ended up curing me. So, God made that way. I didn't have the funds for therapy, but I could afford $10 a month for Planet Fitness.
There you go.
And so I went there and I started working out. And as I started working out, I started doing pull-ups, push-ups. I was doing bench pressing. And then I started, because I've always been that nerd type. If I'm doing something, I want to know what I'm doing. So I started looking up videos. How do I exercise, or what does exercise look like? And I started getting my fitness nerd on. And before long, I was putting serious work there. And so every night I would faithfully work out to get myself in shape. And over the months, man, I wasn't super Arnold Pro ready, but I had my muscles on. I was ripped, whatever. Up until that time, I'd been about 187 pounds in high school. I worked myself to 220 pounds of muscle. Okay. And that ended up being my thing. And so I always talk about how fitness saved my life. It really did. God used fitness to save my life. And so, I'm a little long-winded, but I just really want to share that you don't know. So make it a point to reach out to the people in your life. Just ask questions. Hey, you doing all right? Don't wait for them to look beaten down. Just ask questions. How you doing, man? Everything's good? What's going to talk to me, whatever. And do that. And really be genuinely open. Watch your conversation also, because sometimes people will look for someone to reach out to and they hear you cracking certain jokes on so-and-so crazy. Man, depressed ass nigga. They'll hear that, and that might make them recognize it's not safe to share this. So watch your words, watch your conversation, watch the things that you poke fun of and joke about and even get on people about, because you never know who's listening and how that might actually be cutting them off from a potential lifeline. So
that's actually
just had to throw that out there. Hopefully that'll help somebody else.
That's a real wow. That was a powerful testimony, man. And that's a really good point. That last point that you made. I don't think a lot of people really appreciate that. And even people in my own family, we joke about certain stuff. And, I know when I'm raising my kids, I'm going to be balls to the walls. Hey, don't joke about that shit around shorty. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't give a fuck who it is. You know what I'm saying? Right. Because I can remember certain
things are just off limits.
Specific things when I was a kid that jokes used to be made about. Not even jokes, just some things that, you admire a little too much. You never understand how kids take things. You understand what I'm saying? So if you're talking about, A real man look like this. A real man got arms like tree trunks around your, boy, nephew, or niece, or son, or, your niece or your son or whatever. They may not look like that. And now they're feeling insecure about themselves because of some shit that you said as an adult. You're not thinking of this consciously, but that's the problem. Too many of us don't think before we speak. I have to work on that.
Especially if they like and respect you. Especially if they like and respect you.
Yeah.
Man, look.
You might have crushed that kid's pride, and now that kid's
we're human beings. We're going to mess up. We're going to make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to make mistakes. We're not going to get it right all the time. But we need to be mindful about working to get it right more than we get it. That's the trick.
Yeah.
Just focus on getting it right more than you get it wrong. That's all you got to do. No one say you got to be perfect. You got to walk on eggshells and a tightrope. But make it a point, hey, we need to build that habit. Certain things you don't say, you don't do. Hey, watch your mouth. Hey, we don't say that around here. What's wrong with you? We don't talk like that around here. Or
it's a whole.
No, that's not right, man.
It's a whole thing. And not only me, but other people that I grew up with, they can tell you. I can remember, a certain dude who we all grew up with. A friend of ours had this daughter, and he used to call her Porky. Well, that didn't sit right with her. And to this day, she's still overweight. You understand what I'm saying? That didn't sit right with her. It really made her feel bad. This is a child, and this is back in the 80s. So motherfuckers was really, nobody was politically correct about nothing. But when you really stop and think about it, and you look back and you see how impressionable children are and people are, because a lot of us, to a certain extent, we're still children. There's some things that, some insecurities we never heal past. You know what I'm saying? So to this day, certain things may still hurt when somebody hits that button or whatever the case may be. So just generally speaking, yes, I agree. We got to be much more careful with stuff that we talk about. And that testimony was really, really powerful, brother. I'm glad that you got good. And there's another person that we all know and love that we almost lost. I'm not going to talk about it, not going to say his name, but there's another person that we all know and love that we could have prospectively, it could have happened. Thank God, God got him. He got some people that are really solid, rolling with him, whatever the case may be. And that didn't happen, but that shook me up. I'm like, oh my God, really? Oh man.
Yeah, man.
We could have lost this gem of a person. Are you kidding me? Oh, I mean, because the community needs certain people. You understand? So I'll just leave it there. But yeah, you and this other brother I'm talking about, like, these are people that we could have lost that are powerful, necessary people in the community. And I just think that
I'm still not comfortable with sharing that I'm still not comfortable with sharing that testimony. This might be the fourth or fifth time I've actually spoken out about that, like on a public platform, but I've made it a mission that I'm not going to necessarily be liberal with it, but when the opportunity presents itself, I'm not going to shy away from it, because it's important that when we talk about things like this, that we don't just let it be a boogeyman where depression is just some invisible thing that we can't put a name on. No, let's put a face on it. If you need to put a face on depression, you can put mine on it. I went through it. Yes, me. I went through it. I know it doesn't look like it. I'm a survivor. So depression looks like me. Depression looks like Dwayne Johnson. Depression looks like Iman Shumpert. When we do that, it puts things in perspective, and it takes it from this mythical thing that we just take lightly, and it makes it just like, dang, we might have lost The Rock. We might have lost Bobby. We might have lost Iman. We might have lost this person. Or it makes it more real, and it kind of empowers us as well, because we realize that anybody can go through it, but at the same time, anybody can recover from it as well too. Yes. So it doesn't have to be a death sentence. You can get past it. There is life after this.
Very well said.
The vulnerability also creates opportunity to heal other people, because they're inspired to say somebody that they see so strong went through it and was able to progress through it and continue on. And that gives people inspiration. So sometimes the vulnerability And the transparency is also there to help others, even though it might be a little painful to express it, because you're reliving while you're talking, you're reliving those moments again every time you happen. But by you reliving those short moments in your head at that moment, it also can give somebody that's listening a more viewpoint of saying, I got to keep continuing to push through, like my brother Drake or my brother Iman or my brother Dwayne pushed through, and it end up being in their favor. Because look what happened, you know, look what the results were, you know, it made them better out of their whole concrete. It's kind of like a phoenix rising out of the ashes, you know, you become stronger in the end. So yeah, I always tip my hat off to anybody that's vulnerable, because I know you're not doing it for yourself. You're doing it for the community and people that might silently be going through the same thing and want to see that that solution or that push through can actually be something that is prosperous in the long run.
Yes. And at the end of the day, that's what you call real strength. You know, a lot of us like to have this this exaggerated idea of what strength is. You know, and I mean, the strongest thing that you can think of has some type of a weakness. You understand what I'm saying? And it's okay to have weaknesses. It's okay to, I'm gonna say that loud and proud. It's okay to have weaknesses. That makes you human. You know what I'm saying? And when you're really strong, when you're really powerful, you can take something that is a perceived weakness and you can turn it into a strength. What you did in your story, Bobby, you sound like you knew my grandmother, Evelyn Haynes. She would be extraordinarily proud of you. That woman taught me from when I was old enough to hear and understand the words. R.I.P. to my grandmother. I love that woman to life to this day. She's one of the most wonderful people that walk the face of the earth. She taught me from a very young age, controlled anger becomes strategy. That's one of the first lessons I got from my grandmother. Controlled, I'm 3-4 years old. What are you talking about, lady? Controlled anger.
That's a good way to start off.
Becomes strategy. Exactly. Controlled anger becomes strategy. And she would elaborate on this for the rest of my life until the day she passed. And she would always bang that in my head. And that's exactly what you did. You had this anger, you had this frustration, you controlled it, and you turned it into a strategy to help yourself. That's beautiful, dog. Yeah. That's beautiful. And that's how we need to be moving out here. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to you for that. Conversations 2020.